Good evening. Good evening. How are you? You're watching the Firestarter Show. My name is Lakeisha Hines, and I'm so excited to have this power couple with me tonight, Team Jennings, Mr. Walter and Charmaine Jennings, on the show this evening. The topic tonight is just right up their alley. It's all in their wheelhouse. So it would have truly been a mishap on my part if I did not invite these two to join me for this conversation that we're having tonight. How are you feeling this evening, Team Jennings?
Hey, well, we are super excited to be on this show, this venue with the best hostess with the mostest, our friend, sister, and so much more. Thank you for having us, Lakeisha.
Well,
Yes.
thank you so much for saying yes. How are you feeling tonight, Brother Walter?
I'm feeling excellent. Just really excited to be on the show. Thank you so much again for the invitation. And yeah, looking forward to having a conversation about the arts and relationships, man.
Yes.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal, right? But listen, here's the thing. How you going to show up looking better than the host? I feel like I told him, I said, I need to go and change my outfit. Y'all super fly this evening. Super, super fly.
If
Thank
you
you
only
for showing up and dressing up and serving the people life.
if you only knew behind the scenes. Ain't no glam squad over here, okay? We
front of
didn't
the
wake up like
scenes,
this.
front of the scenes, you look like you got 25 people in the back that helped y'all get put together. So I appreciate you showing up. But let's dive right into this topic tonight. It's one that is near and dear to my heart. I didn't realize how artsy I was when I was younger. It wasn't until I became an adult that I realized that, man, I really am an art head, right? And I think I struggled for many years trying to figure out what I actually wanted to do career wise because I was so passionate about so many different things. Dance was in my life from a very little girl. I want to say maybe 3 or 4 years old. I started dancing, and music was always a part of my life. And then I enjoyed drawing and painting. I actually went to school for graphic design. Like art has always been a part of my life. So this is one of those topics that again is very near and dear to my heart. And so the way that we are bringing art into this conversation tonight is about art in relationships. And so all three of us work with couples. All three of us actually believe that God has called us to pour into relationships and to pour into people. And in these relationships, I don't know, you all confirm or correct for me because I just need to know. But for me, in my mind, relationships, there's an art to being able to to have a healthy, successful relationship. Do you agree or do you see it from a different perspective?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think of, art, is typically, more accredited to the right hemisphere of the brain, and I do believe relationships, there's an art, but there's a science to it as well. You
Mhm.
definitely need both components. And there's that, there's the steps, but then there's like, you know what, there's no one smooth path to success, right? And so that's
Mhm.
where the art comes into play, right? Sometimes it's messy, the GPS is not a straight shot. You're gonna go some back roads, some different routes. So
Yeah, and when we talk about art, right, we're talking about those components that are germane and unique to you all
mhm,
as a couple. When we
Mhm.
talk about the scientific part, there are some strategies, some tools that definitely will work from couple to couple. And then there are certain things that because of the passions that you have, because of the makeup, the interest that you all have, that will naturally draw you together. So part of what we purpose to do as counselors and practitioners is to get down to what are those things that either drew you together
mhm.
or
Yeah.
what are those common core values that you all have that we can at least sync you up on and then build from there. A lot of times couples they stray away from those things and
Yes.
they inevitably lead to fracturing in relationships.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. I love that. And I go ahead. Were you trying to say something, Charmaine?
Yeah, I was gonna say, and it was interesting that he said that couples stray away from that. Yes, and why do we stray away from it? Because we're guilty, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes it's because we start adulting. We
Yes.
start prioritizing the parent partnership, the business partnership of paying bills and acquiring things and possessions, and sometimes we forget that as adults we have to take care of of ourselves individually, but also collectively. We have to stay dating, playing, enjoying ourselves as adults.
Yeah, I love what you both said, and I think I'll add on to that in the sense that many times when we do enter into relationship, we oftentimes, I think, lose ourselves. You know, a lot of times we lose our identities. And one of the things that you just pointed out, Charmaine, was about when we become parents. You know, when we have to take on additional responsibilities and we're in charge for now someone else's life. And let's just keep it real. I love children. They are blessings from God, but they're takers.
Yep.
They are takers, and they oftentimes don't give you anything back for your service and sacrifice. And so many times, you know, I know for me as a mom, I got wrapped up in taking care of my children and oftentimes neglected myself because I was pouring into my children so much. And you know, we have something else in common in that we all three of us we have children with disabilities, and that is a completely different layer because the needs of those children are far greater than the quote unquote typical or average child because you're dealing with so many different dynamics, and it's so easy again to neglect oneself and focus so much on the children. So getting back to the core of who we are as individuals, I think you all have done an excellent job of making sure that you stayed true to who you are as individuals, and art has always been a part of your lives. So before we get into our topics, I think it will be very valuable for those who watch live or those who catch the replay to understand how art has played such a significant role in your lives, let's say individually and collectively, because it's really connected.
Mhm.
I know that, but they don't know that. So,
One of the things that I want to encourage anyone that's listening, right, is that although we both are artists, we did not meet via art.
Yeah.
And
mhm,
so, it's important to make that distinction. You see these movies and it's romanticized that two
mhm,
people, that are both artists, they come together for it wasn't that. It wasn't until again we met on a more platonic kind of common ground
Mhm.
mhm,
that we realized that we both had a love for art. And to be perfectly honest, I didn't realize the passion and the propensity that I had for art and the role that it would play in my life until I was in college. I
mm,
wasn't in the band. I was in very granular activities that didn't involve a lot of art as far as on the surface. I didn't get into my primary art discipline, which is spoken word and poetry. I wrote when I was starting in the eighth grade, but I didn't share my work publicly until I was a senior in college. And
mm,
so when we talk about again, there are a lot of closet artists and a lot of closet poets, which is what I was. And it wasn't until my senior year in college when I actually started sharing my work where I realized something's here. And
mhm,
so, beginning to discover that, and as you mentioned, individually uncovering that, it actually became another pillar that really connected Charmaine and I, as far
mhm,
as with her being a poet as well, her beginning to then share some of her poetry with me and then with the world. And so we realized that it was another a bind, another connection point for us to really build intimacy between us.
Yeah, for me, for me, I think my area in art, it definitely started with a mixture of music,
mhm,
singing at church and the youth choir, being very shy, having a lot on my mind, but not really knowing how to say it, not knowing how to share it. And so music kind of started me out, singing in the choir, hearing music at church, enjoying different music and sounds and things, loving how people express themselves through music and song. But then for me, when my teenage years hit between 13 and 16, I started feeling the weight of the world, the weight of my emotions. I mean, and they became so heavy, I became depressed. Un,
mhm,
un, Unknown to my parents, I started, writing in my journal and my poetry, and I didn't realize it was poetry, but it was, and it was very dark, and it was not good. it wasn't going in a great place. So for me, I think my writing and my poetry, when I started getting all of those emotions out, the weight of the world, when you have a very empathetic children who have big hearts, you got to watch them and pay attention to them between the ages, especially of 11 and like 15. Those are some
Mm.
critical years because they hear everything and they're processing and gathering information, and it makes them sad, especially if they
Mhm.
don't feel like they can control it. And so for me, I started to get it out, but it was very heavy. And thank goodness for my parents. They affirmed me, that they loved me, cared about me. And so I was able to now start writing that I could be a positive contribution in the world, because my writing was like I was writing myself out
Yeah.
of the conversation. And so
Mm.
art became a way to save my life, a way for me to really reconcile those emotions and to rechannel them into something that could blossom into something a lot better.
Yeah. So I know that you had your own individual journeys, which you just shared, and thank you with poetry. And Charmaine, you did have a musical background, and you and I shared that together for many years. But talk to everybody, talk to the people about how you have used art in your own relationship.
Mm.
So I will again, because I believe in just being very honest and forthright when it comes to relationships, when it comes to marriage. It has not been an easy road. A lot of people,
Mhm.
again, they see us with our artistry now, and then, oh, you guys are such a great team, and you do so well together. We have poems and performances that we do. It was a long time coming, and I will readily admit that a lot of the block lied with me, and
Yes,
it was
Lord.
yeah,
Yes, it does. Amen.
a lot of the challenge lied
Yes,
with me
Lord. Yes, Lord.
because of the fact though, again, I received good wise counsel that it's important not to mix business and family.
Mhm.
And
Mm.
because again, you already have a dynamic where you're trying to navigate a relationship, you're trying to
Mhm.
navigate marriage,
Mm.
and the more responsibility you add to that, the
Yes.
more weight it puts on the relationship. So
Well,
it's
it's
now
a
something
strain.
you
It's a
gotta, yeah,
strain.
exactly. Now it's
Mhm.
something else that you've got to manage. And because both of us were not only artists, but we were good artists.
Mm.
We were a part of the poetry and spoken word, the contemporary poetry and spoken word scene in Tampa, and helping
Mhm.
build it up to what it is now. And not saying that bragging, but just being very honest from a
Mm.
historical standpoint.
Mhm.
Those types of things, as far as the attention, again, trying to maintain our individual artistry while also supporting one another collectively as well. There was a balance to it,
Mhm.
while also
Yeah.
trying to balance a home. And so I was very reluctant to do projects with Charmaine, for us to do things together. And so it was a long time coming for me. And it wasn't until we got some years under our belt, and I really began to understand that as a couple, God brought us together to nourish one another. And there was also a collective benefit by us working together.
Mhm.
And so we've been able to launch a lot of different projects. We did a project called Mouth of the Mural, which was really
Yes.
exciting and highlighting a lot of the visual artists and murals around the city, and
Mhm.
also incorporating other spoken word artists into that. We're all about community. And so for us, art is not our core value, creativity is.
Yes.
And
Mm.
so, we're really big proponents in helping couples to identify what are your core values, what is your
Yes.
relationship, your marriage, what is it going to be built upon. And so for us, creativity
Mhm.
is a very big principle for us within our marriage and in our relationship. And art is one of the conduits through which it is expressed. And so now, again, that we've gotten some years under our belt with our marriage, we're able to really go into various projects where we can work together to really build something collectively.
Yeah, I have to add that we got married really young.
Yes.
So we were still developing our individual
Yes.
like uniquenesses and
I
identity.
get
And
that.
even,
Mhm.
so it's very different when you were in your early 20s and like you were literally growing up
Mhm.
together. And
Mhm.
so while I understand absolutely what Walter, that wisdom that was given to him, it might have seemed like a detriment, but to be truthfully honest, I think that we needed those years to mature. We needed to be able to have a solid partnerships and parenting and learning how to pay bills and learning how to purchase cars and buy insurance. And we needed those things to be able to really build that partnership. And so, but I love the fact that he says creativity, that is the focus when we work with couples, because
Mm-hmm.
you might love, DIY, do it yourself, jobs, and putting crown molding around your house. That's an
Mm-hmm.
art for you. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Redesigning the bedroom, that's art, interior
Right.
design. So we sometimes limit art to performing
Absolutely.
Right.
arts, right? But it is creativity that we want that to resonate to the world, that because we do have couples that says, well, I'm not creative. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
yes, you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yes,
you
you
are.
are. Even
Yeah,
if
you
you
took
are the
those 3 ingredients that were in the refrigerator and you made a gourmet meal out of it, you're an artist.
absolutely, absolutely. You might be a financial genius. You will literally, make $1 out of 15 cents. That's art. That's creativity, right? And so with those things, that every couple has that power, and it can really not only heal you individually, but coming together, it
Yes.
is almost that thing that it's almost one of the great gift that you can model for your children, that there is some creativity inside of them as well that has been gifted to them,
Mhm.
that when sometimes things occur, and you just need time to relax, to heal, to unwind, channel that thing, that gift that you were given, and it's meant to heal you and help you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my husband and I, you all know this, but we co-facilitate a support group together with our nonprofit organization Support for Caregivers, and one of the parents who came through there actually was an art teacher, and when she had her son who had a lot of healthcare issues, um art kind of fell by the wayside because life took over, parenting took over, which is exactly what we were talking about at the top of the show. And we really were encouraging her to get back to her art. We said, listen, even if you're just sketching, if even if you just get a book and you just do some light sketches, that art is in you. It's a part of you. It's who you are. It's what you do. It's like it's all oozing out of your pores, how creative you are. And you got to get back to that, even if it's just for 10 minutes. And so slowly but surely she started working her way back. And now she's teaching classes again. She's doing I mean, it's insane, and so to the point now where she's the illustrator of our new book. So, I mean, like,
Outstanding.
art has been back in her life for quite some time now, and you can just see it, like, there's this calm and this peace that came over her when she got back to her art because, again, that was part of who she was, and it was something that she needed. It was like, air to her.
Yes,
And
yeah.
so she needed to get back to that. And she used it, as you said, both of you have channeled a lot of what's been going on with you, into your poetry, into your work. And at one point, when I was dibbling and dabbling, it was an outlet for me as well. So sometimes it is not just about you being creative or you being someone who was born with these artistic genes, but literally it can be a lifesaver, to your point, Charmaine, and it literally can help you to ground yourself and to get focused. It can help you get centered and just take your mind off of everything else that's going on around you that you can't change. So we're going to get into some things that you can do with your partner or your spouse to incorporate art into your relationship to bring you guys closer, help strengthen your bond, and get a little spice going in the bedroom too. But we're going to take a quick break. I don't want you to swipe left or right. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. You're watching the Firestarter Show. Do you or someone you know have a child with special needs, or as we like to call them, special abilities? If yes, please listen up. SNC 101 is here to the rescue. SNC 101, or Special Needs Community 101, is a welcome to the world of disabilities. This program assists new and veteran caregivers of children with special needs to overcome challenges they face on a daily basis. It will ignite the fire within and help you get back to you. You will get three-hour group sessions, 3 support messages, and a welcome packet with program materials. Topics to be discussed discussed are understanding, accepting, and navigating the diagnosis, self care, maintaining healthy relationships, and so much more. You do not want to miss this boot camp. As a caregiver, you truly are a warrior. You're a fighter. So use the QR code below to register today, soldiers. See you soon. All right, welcome back. Welcome back to the Firestarter Show. Again, my name is Lakeisha Hines, and I'm joined here with Walter and Charmaine Jennings, who are powerhouses in the art, spoken word, in counseling. There's nothing these people cannot do. I am so happy that I am able to be connected with them and to bask in their glory. Um, Thank you all for being here again. So, we're going to dive into some tips, some strategies, some things that you all can do to bring art into your relationship and help it to build bonds between you, bring you closer together and have fun. And I even said to bring some spice in that bedroom. So, the first thing we're going to do, we can look at art together.
Mhm.
This is something that I absolutely love. You don't even have to go anywhere, honestly, if you want to look at art. You literally can Google things online. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do, magazines, books from the library if you want, things that you can download. There's always ways to find art, but my favorite is going to museums to look at art. My husband and I did that recently. There's a Dolly Museum in St. Petersburg, which is close to where the three of us live, and it was such a good time. Even though that's not his type of art, he did it with me because he knew it was something that I was passionate about. And I think, in relationships, at times, we got to compromise, right? There's some things that he wants to do that I don't necessarily want to do, but I go ahead and I do it because we're trying to, again, spend time together, bond, strengthen our relationship, and respect each other's interests, right?
Mhm.
So I love going to look at art together at museums. What about the two of you?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, as you mentioned, because we live in Florida, art is all around us, not
Mhm.
just with the museums, but
Mhm.
one of the things that we love doing is even going for walks, looking at the architecture of homes. And my wife constantly daydreaming about this house and that house, and those, but even those things, can provide an opportunity for a conversation. Again, it's an opportunity to have that exploratory and emotional intimacy. And so, absolutely, we, as a matter of fact, we just came a few weeks ago. We went to the Chihuly Museum, which is the glass
Ooh,
art,
Uh,
which is,
yes.
and as you mentioned, Keisha, it's not art isn't just about the product; it's
yes.
also about the process.
Yes.
And so,
Yes.
it's so great
Mhm.
being able to see the process behind these beautiful
Mhm.
products that
Yes.
are made, because obviously too, it's indicative of relationships as well. There's a lot of symmetry there.
Yes.
And I'm big
Yes.
on like documentaries and things of that nature, because I'm always interested in the how did they get here?
Right.
How
Yes.
did what's the
What was the
story
process?
behind, yeah, what's the story behind what we see? And
Mhm.
so it allows opportunity for us to be able to explore that together. And as you mentioned, what art does is it allows you to really bond together when it comes to, I may be interested in the story and the process. Charmaine may be interested in the person and the
Mhm.
mentality and their mindset behind doing what they did. So it becomes this great common ground for us to really have dialogue and discussion from two different perspectives about the same thing.
I mean, and we were able
Yes.
to see a glass blowing
Hmm.
demonstration and how they make it, and just, I mean, learning together, right?
Mhm.
Learning together, learning something new, exploring something new. So it was just amazing to have that experience.
Hmm.
And I may be jumping the gun, but you're talking about spicing up the bedroom. It, it is being around that type of creativity, to be
Yes.
honest. Even if you're not an artist, with your hands and you're not good with your hands, there's been times where I have really enjoyed working with couples, and it really encouraging them to see each other's bodies as a work of art, and
Mhm.
to touch, to feel, to really just embody and encourage that. And so, we
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
we like the glow in the dark paints.
Hold on. Pause. Pause.
Don't give away. Don't give
Oh,
away.
So,
All,
sorry,
don't give all the
so,
secrets.
so,
Now. You got the
so,
whole
sorry.
so,
team.
Too soon.
So I wanted to touch on the art around you because you all mentioned something that you did with your Mouth of the Mural series,
Yes.
and you took an entire year and just went all around our community
Hmm.
and highlighted art that was there by various artists. There were poems created around that art, and then you got to get some history
Hmm.
also of your own community, which again was to me phenomenal. Which is why I said art's just oozing out of your pores.
Hmm.
But admiring the art around you again is not about what other people have coined or deemed art, right? Because sometimes it literally is just the way the sun hits the trees when you get up in the
Hmm.
morning. That can be art. So we don't have to have like it doesn't have to fit in a box. In other words, art can be whatever we define it as, right? So I love the fact that you talked about the glass blowing, and shout out to my cousin man who actually paints glass, and he started doing this like in his 50s. So
Hmm.
I know that this is something that happens because, that's the psychology geek in me that knows about developmental stages. And when we move into that transition from like middle to late adulthood is when our creative juices really begin to flow. And that's when most people start picking up an instrument or they start painting or all their creativity comes out. And he started painting glass. And I mean, the work is beautiful. So shout out to my cousin Willie White, my cousin man, paint glass maker. He's done a phenomenal job with that. So you were tapping into one of our next points, my sister, and it was about painting together. So now we're gonna dig real deep on this one because painting together can mean so many different things. Typically, when you think about painting together, you think about sip and paint. Everybody's doing sip and paint now, and that's cute for a wonderful date night. It's fun, but if you're one who doesn't draw, it could be very stressful for you, which is why they have the alcohol for those who partake.
Hey, you
But it
sipping way more than you paying. Okay.
exactly. But it can be a fun date night, right? To do a
Yeah.
sip and paint, to paint together, and I've done that, and I think it's cool. Like I do enjoy that, but I like to paint. For someone who doesn't, this may not be their jam. But so also, you guys went to a museum and you saw the glass and how that was done. But like I said, my cousin paints glass, so you literally can get your own glass. You can purchase your own pottery type items and you can paint them. That's something that you can do. And now you can go ahead and chime in with the third type of painting that you can do when we talk about painting together, because there are many different canvases. So, which canvas were you referring to?
So, we're referring to, yes, our bodies as canvases, and when we look in the mirror every day, sometimes we do not take the time to acknowledge how this canvas is evolving, right?
Yeah,
Even when if we acknowledge it, sometimes we're not as positive as we need to be about really respecting what our canvases have gone
true,
through, right? And so,
true.
as a couple, it really serves as an opportunity for us to look at each other's body as a canvas, to
Yes,
acknowledge every curve, crest, every aspect of it, and to really just to touch it, to caress it, to buy some paint brushes, turn the lights off if you
yep,
want. We love being able to turn the lights off, turn on some black lights, and get
hmm
some glow in the dark paint, some wonderful soft tip brushes,
yep,
and really being able to design what it is that you see. If I see a warrior in my husband, I can paint him his
yep,
warrior suit, his breastplate, and all of these different things, right? I can write him a message, right, on his chest where I've laid my head down for years, right? So you can make this canvas whatever you like, right? And he can acknowledge my body for what it has either contributed to his life, to his children, whatever. But it really helps me to see how he endears me, right,
yep,
through his eyes, and vice versa. Because sometimes I haven't always appreciated my own canvas.
hmm
So he can really motivate me and the beauty in what he sees, and vice versa.
absolutely. I love it. I'm telling you that painting each other can be such an erotic thing that you all can do together. It can be very stimulating. It could be your foreplay, or it could just be we're just playing without the intent of anything in the end. So I love that. Done that, been there. If you haven't, I don't know what you're doing with your life. You need to try it. So
Amazon, put your order
Amazon has everything, everything.
Mhm.
One of the things that you pointed out, Walter, was about watching documentaries, and I enjoy that too. I love watching documentaries about the different phases of arts and time periods, like the Renaissance period, and how art was changing um,
Mhm.
from modern art to the different styles of art. And I think um, I'm really into that. So that may not be for everybody, but to learn about the different genres, I think you're learning together, and it helps you in your own creative exploration when you understand the different types of art. So I love doing that together. I don't
Yeah,
know.
you
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No,
Now I
no,
was
no.
going
Go ahead.
to say, you mentioned Dolly earlier,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
so Dolly is one of those artists, right? Well, when you look at his work, it is so vivid and it's so relevant. You forget that it's some of it is 60, 70 years old because
Surrealism.
so you can only imagine the criticism and the
Mhm.
critique that he probably undertook during those times. My mother's one of those people that thought Dolly was demon possessed,
Oh
like
yeah. Oh yeah.
Off
because of
church folk.
yeah,
Hands
because
down.
of his work, right?
Hands down.
He's considered a realist, so it's very spiritual in a
Mhm.
way, but
Yes.
and so it can be a bit disturbing, but it does challenge your perspective, and so yeah, I think it's really important, again, as you study that, because when history and times change, it usually is uncomfortable. Change, especially when you're talking
Yes.
about the shifting of art forms and what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. A lot of things are not accepted when they're first introduced.
Mhm.
And so when you
Facts.
look at somebody like Dolly having a museum now, you know, years ago, I'm pretty sure the individuals when he first started introducing his work would not deem him as an individual that was worthy of even having his work reflected in that way.
No, Dolly was coined as a weirdo. Like he was weird. Nobody wanted to hang out with him. Nobody wanted to talk to him. Keep your kids away from Dolly. Don't let your kids play with Dolly. He's weird. Yeah,
Mhm,
and as believers, a lot of his work is dark and it does look demonic. It does
mhm,
look like, again, but he painted what he dreamt about.
mhm,
And many times our dreams, they can be very dark, right? But I
mhm,
love the fact that he was unapologetic
mhm,
in what it is that he put out there. And surrealism was a movement and the people were not ready. And
mhm,
as you said, most of the more innovative things, the new things that are coming out, think about neo soul. People weren't ready.
mhm,
They didn't know what to call it. There was no name for it. So every time, I would say most times when something is new, to your point, it is often not welcomed
mhm,
because it's different and we don't like things to be different because it makes us uncomfortable, and especially if we can't define it. But everything doesn't need to be defined. And to me, the things that have made the most impact and that have actually touched me the deepest didn't have a label at first, right? It was something that kind of grew and evolved into something else. So I love Dolly. I love Frida Kahlo. She was another one that was very weird according to the people, and it was a lot of dark things because she dealt with death, and so a lot of her artwork was surrounding death and dying because she had umpteen thousand miscarriages. So
mhm,
she would paint about all of her babies that she lost, and it evoked sadness, and people don't want to sit in pain. We want to hop around it, jump over it. We just want, oh no, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to look at that. But when you look at her art, it forces you to have to go into those dark spaces. And to me, that is what makes it art.
mhm,
Mhm.
So, this next point was about sculptures or pottery, and it's right in alignment because Dolly did some sculptures himself. Frida Kahlo did some sculptures also. So there are a lot of artists who have done that. You can actually do that, right? We can take a pottery class together and we can make different types of art together. So that's something else that you can do. And I think the last thing that we didn't talk about, we talked about music, but we didn't talk about making music together.
mhm,
So we actually can do that. And it doesn't have to be as formal as going into a studio, you making a beat and I'm dropping lyrics. I mean, that's one way to do it, but Honestly, my husband here around the house just being silly because he used to play drums. He might come up with a beat and I'll come up with something and we're just joking, playing around the house. So we make music together all the time. But really, what it comes down to is you finding things that you can do together
Yes.
where
Mm.
you enjoy each other. It's fun. You're interested. You're learning something. It brings you closer together and creating new memories and new experiences together. And art can definitely be a catalyst to help strengthen your relationship and again increase your bond together. So I just want to say thank you all so much again for joining. I thoroughly enjoyed this conversation with the two of you. And please share with the people what you have upcoming and how they can get in contact with you.
Sure, absolutely. You can always reach out to us at chosenlifespecialist.org. As far as our next event that we actually have coming up, we will be participating in an event called Poetic Joy, which is a part of the Healing While Black conference that will be taking place over in St. Petersburg, Florida. I believe that's July the 5th through July the 9th. And so Poetic Joy is going to take place on Thursday, July the 6th from 7 until 10 p.m. at the studio at 620 in St. Petersburg. So for more information, you can visit healingwhileblack.com.
All right. Any closing thoughts for the people?
No, just, if you want to continue to keep that creative edge in your relationship, remove right and wrongs. There is no wrong in art, being creative, and just make sure you keep those lines of vulnerability open and creating that space where each of you both can be just free to flow, free to be, and just accept one another as you're navigating new experiences with each other. And so, yeah, visit us at chosenlifespecialist.com.
All right. Well, as always, if you are in need of a fire starter, you know all you have to do is schedule a heat call. I am here for you. Call or text 727-213-8247, and make sure that you are tuning in every Thursday night, 7 p.m., where we're talking about sex, parenting, arts, relationships, and kingdom business. All right, you guys, have a wonderful night. Thank you for joining, and we will see you next week.